Okay, I'm doing something a little different here, where I'm recording a video VR voice log. I'm really stacking up the acronyms here, but this is kind of like a vlog, but just using VR to be able to talk about some things. So, a big reason why I want to actually use my voice, and it sounds weird to say that because I've done like in-person vlogs before, and I've done voice recordings before. So it sounds weird right now for me, like without any context, to say that I'm using my voice a lot. For the past 3 weeks, the majority of my socialization has all been done in sign language. In sign language. I've studied sign language for a while. Well, it's been like 2 years, but that's like, hey, I picked up a deck on Anki. Anki's like a flashcard application. You could have video flashcards that are there, so I was learning just random vocabulary words for quite a while. But that was on and off, so it's not really right to say that I've been studying for 2 years or whatever. I've only really been serious with it for about 6 or maybe 7 months now. And yeah, so one thing that I've noticed over the past month or so, when I'm primarily using sign language, it reminds me of when I was studying other languages. For example, when I was studying Japanese, I was in a university environment where it was like an intensive Japanese course where we're just using Japanese. So it was this summer program that was an immersion-based program where you're using as little English as possible. All the classroom time that's like scheduled for Japanese is done in Japanese. We had like 2 hours a day that were grammatical explanations in English, and like we had an hour for like office hours where we could ask questions in English. There were two Japanese professors that never used English around us because that was their job, was to give us exposure to Japanese as much as possible, create as much of an immersion environment as possible, and also because it was a summer program that also lent itself to that. However, the big point that I have of bringing this up, of talking about the immersion program with Japanese, is I started from nothing. Everyone that was there was starting from absolutely zero, and a big struggle that you have when, and also because it was a summer program, it was kind of like the university town was kind of like a ghost town. You didn't have parties on the weekends or anything like that. It was very isolating. So you have the situation where your ability to communicate to others is significantly lowered because you are using a language that you're not familiar with, and you're also in a new social setting where you haven't really connected with anyone. And there's like the other students that are there, but it's only a handful of students, and everyone already is like kind of doing their own thing. These are not people that you're going to be around for a significant amount of time, so there was not a really strong sense of connection there. That's a real sad thing about modernity in general, is how we have so many situations that we know are just going to be like temporary, so we don't really invest in the social connections that we have with others because we're aware that they are moribund. That is a great vocabulary word that has helped me not use ephemeral so often, because ephemeral sounds almost too poetic. Of like, sakura blossoms falling from the trees are an ephemeral beauty of spring. That sounds very poetic, of course. Moribund is something that's not long for this world, and it sounds almost morbid in its pronunciation, so that there's a lot of connections that we have with other people, a lot of situations that we can be in where they're not long for this world. There's nothing significant that will come out of it. So that's kind of a sad thing. So expression is significantly limited when you're using another language. And I experienced that a whole lot with the immersion environment. And then I'm trying to immerse myself with VR sign language. Even if you get to a level where you can communicate very basically, things become very slow. And you are focused on learning. In the immersion environment, you're focused on learning. You're not focused on socializing so much. I mean, that comes later. Yeah, you want to be able to socialize. You want to be able to meet people and form meaningful connections in one way or another. Like I can't look into people's minds and understand their motivations, and a lot of people don't really have much introspection to look in on themselves and ask, well, why am I actually doing this? Because this is one hell of a dedication to spend a whole lot of time trying to learn a language. So I'm just reflecting a little bit on how expression is legitimately suppressed when you are putting expression aside to focus more on learning. And that's a difficulty where that takes an emotional toll. That absolutely takes a toll on you. It is stressful. Learning is stressful. If you are focused in on something, that's going to be a stressful act. I, I, I want to say that learning should be fun. You should enjoy the learning process, but that's idealistic. And we need some way to socially recharge. Yes, you want learning to be, you want your learning experience, how you're getting exposure to a language, to be interesting and engaging. It's going to exhaust you, no matter how much you do. I love playing soccer, for example. Yes, I'm American, so I say soccer. Deal with it. I love playing soccer, but I get very exhausted after playing an hour of soccer, let's say. I need to rest and recover from that in order to enjoy playing soccer again. If I'm playing, if I'm doing a whole bunch of cardio and running a whole lot and my legs are sore and I never give myself time to recover, then what I loved about soccer, running around and kicking the ball, is going to become miserable. It's going to become absolutely miserable because I'm not taking proper care of my health in that situation in a similar way, and it's more difficult to talk about because we are talking about mental health when we're focusing a whole lot on studying and we are deliberately stressing ourselves out by studying. That's like working out in a way, and we need some way to recover from that. You need pleasant social experiences. Well, I say that, and that's something that's very hard for people to wrap their minds around because a lot of people take that for granted. The people who have positive social interactions take those interactions for granted, and people who don't have them are alienated from them. What I mean by this, by positive social interaction, I guess in a sort of clinical way, you could say it's having confidants, having friends in whom you can trust and you can express yourself without censorship. That's a very important part, because if we are cautious around someone, then that's stressful. If we know that, oh, you have to watch your words around Sandy because she's really scared of things. I don't know. She's easily offended, let's say. That's not going to help you to calm down. That's going to increase your stress if you're around someone like that, especially if they heckle you about it. Like, oh, you didn't use my preferred pronouns. Sorry, I don't know you. I don't know that takes you off. And I didn't read your Facebook profile or whatever the heck and memorize that and then make that my new muscle memory, my new verbal muscle memory for referring to you. I'm supposed to call you Your Highness, not you. Oh, I see. That's your preference. Whatever the hell. See, that whole, like, even bringing up that whole topic is stressful because it's like, oh, well, if you identified this way, then you would want to be recognized or something. I'd be like, I don't have an ego about that. I don't have an ego problem. So fuck you. And wanting to be treated special. Yes, you are acting like a snowflake if you're in that realm. I'm probably going to have to edit this out because it's too offensive. Anyway, if you're already engaged in a mentally strenuous activity like studying on a regular basis, like if you're a medical student even, and you're studying a whole lot, then for the sake of your mental health, you need to have good social contacts that you don't have to censor yourself around, that you can just really be open with, people that you can unwind around. That's really important. I don't really have that in my life. A lot of people today don't really have that in my life. A lot of people today don't have that in their lives. That is not an excuse. That is identifying a systematic problem that affects a whole lot of people that just goes unaddressed. Oh, just go outside. Just find some friends at the mall. Just go out somewhere and meet up with people in real life. How's that going right now? How's that work? Okay, boomer. I'm just going to go and hang out at the mall and with my skateboard and hang out with the other kids who are like, yeah, we're cool. That's not That's not a version of reality. You're an idiot if you think, oh, this person's lonely, they're spending too much time on social media, they just need to take a walk in the park, just touch grass. Then everything will be fine. Everything's going to be fixed if you just go outside and walk in the park. I walk in the park regularly, every day, about 20 minutes. It's a good warm up or a cool down after like doing proper exercise. It's nice. There's a couple of neighbors who are like, they do their own thing, or they're like walking their dog or whatever. That's not a meaningful social interaction of just going to the park and meeting someone. And I just would not have any interest in meeting up with these people for a barbecue or something. I'm not interested in that. I know that, first of all, this is a temporary living situation where I know that I'm not going to be here for a long time. Second of all, I just don't, they're not my kind of person, in the sense of like I would not be able to chill out if I'm around a bunch of boomers talking about sports ball. Like I don't care about your sports ball games. I have nothing meaningful to connect with you, and I'm going to be walking on eggshells the whole time because of the generational gap. And there's a complete lack of understanding of what fucking living situation am I in terms of where do I fit in society? That question is very important in order to be like able to connect with people. But I mean, you're not going to have meaningful relationships with people who are completely disconnected from your perspective, who are just completely disconnected from empathy even. That's an absolute mess.